Oh, Cass, I need to take my drugs so as not to go crazy. There's a reason it's Dr. Pepper. Where do you think I get my drugs? Fatal Throne is the story of the 6 wives of Henry VIII, told from each of their perspectives, as well as the perspective of Henry VIII himself. All in all, it's pretty good. So each of the 6 wives told their stories in like slightly different ways. Catherine of Aragon, the first wife, she told hers sort of back and forth between like the end of the marriage and like the beginning, moving forward until like they meet at the very end of the marriage, and like all of her stillbirths and all of her troubles, and like it deals a lot with like her faith and her Catholic religion and all that kind of stuff. Anne Boleyn, her section is told as she is in the Tower of London preceding her execution, the conversations she's having with her ladies in waiting, reflecting back on like, oh, what went wrong, what could I have done better, all that fun stuff. It also has this really cool poem that's like it's written as a sort of like final testimony and like begging for the mercy of her accused lovers that she apparently had. I don't know, I liked it. Did Anne Boleyn actually write it? I don't know, maybe. I'm crazy about a boat.
It's a ship.
Not about these ladies. Now, Jane Seymour, the third wife, her account is told sort of like in a contemporary way, in that like she's not looking back on her life. It is like as she enters court, as she's like trying to find her place in it, and as she meets Henry and marries, has a child, and then eventually dies. So yeah, she had Henry's only legitimate male heir. Did you know that Henry VIII had a bastard son that he quasi-legitimized? He was given the surname Fitzroy, which apparently means son of a king, and Henry also gave him like a dukedom. There was also a son from Catherine of Aragon, but he only lived like 3 months or something. So with all of like the deaths that happened with Henry's descendancy, like all of his wives had a bunch of stillborns, and Edward, his one living like son who went on to become king, died when he was like 15 or something. People being like Tudor historians have hypothesized that like there was something up with just like Henry's emissions that caused such a horrible track record with his children. The next wife that Henry took was Anne of Cleves, the ugly one. And like, looking at her portraiture, she's not bad. Smash, TBH. But she honestly was given the best deal out of the whole situation. After they were married for like less than a year, she granted Henry an annulment on the provision that like they never consummated the marriage, therefore their marriage was never legitimized, so she didn't need to be killed or anything in order for him to remarry. And in giving Henry that annulment, he like titled her sister of the king, and like she got an allowance, she got households, she got castles, and she lived like past all the other wives. She outlived Henry. She eventually died of like, I think ovarian cancer is what they decided on. They like looked at her bones and stuff. I can't remember. I'm obsessed about a boat.
It's a ship.
Not these ladies. I'm sorry. But her section of the story is told as like a dying woman being visited by all these ghosts from her past, and they're like transporting her into these scenes from her past and letting her live through them again. And then the next wife, the penultimate wife, Catherine Howard, who, God bless her heart, poor Catherine Howard. I cannot like think about her and her part in this story without feeling sad. She was killed. Like, they were married less than a year, I'm pretty sure. She was 17 when he had her executed. And he was like strongly into like his 40s, 50s. 17. And like her life before that, part of the reason why he had her executed was because like he was fine that she had previous lovers, but it was that like apparently she had secretly married one of them, therefore delegitimizing the marriage that she had with him. And it's like, okay, she had previous lovers. Cool, cool, cool. Her first lover that she took, he was like 30 something and she was like 14. What? So just real tragic story for her. I feel bad for her. And then the last wife, Catherine Parr, she had been married several times before Henry, but they had both died. So she was seen as a valid, valued woman. But the problem that, in this book at least, is that she was too strong-headed, too opinionated, and that frustrated Henry. And it like, why are you undermining me? I'm your king. I am like the leader of the church. I am God's homie. Why are you trying to interpret the scriptures on your own? You should look to me as the interpreter. Like all that kind of stuff is. And then he eventually dies, and she's like, cool, deuces, and ends up marrying a guy that she was really into, who coincidentally was the brother of Jane Seymour, the third wife. Like, small town, very small court. Between each of the Queen's sections is like a little blurb from Henry being like, oh, here's what I thought about this wife, and they're all written as if he's writing them from the end of their relationship. So like you only get, like with Anne Boleyn, you only get like that bitterness. You don't get the deep connection and love that he had for her at the beginning of the relationship. It's all very like reflective. As I read the book, I was like, oh wow, they did a really good job of like giving each of these 6 women very distinct voices, very distinct personalities. It didn't feel like the author was just putting on different hats. Come to find out, it's because each of the 6 women were written by different authors. And then like Henry was written by a 7th author. So of course, obviously. And then this book had the bizarre decision that everything is written, well, all of the wives sections are written in present tense. And then Henry's is written in past tense. I don't necessarily hate present tense. I know some people have like real strong feelings about it. It can be done well. Like Hunger Games is written in present tense, and I think it works very well in that situation because that is a story very much where you need to be like in the moment. But in a book where half of it, the characters are like reflecting back on their lives, and the reflection part is also written in present tense, it was just, why was that decision? Why? Honestly, I think I prefer like just traditional nonfiction over historical fiction when dealing with like real people and stuff, because they're freaking royalty. We have records of what they were doing on this specific day, because that's someone's job back then, was to write all that stuff down. But like to then go into their head, it didn't work for me. I didn't necessarily, like, it was a fine enough read. I don't think I'm going to be keeping this book is what I'm saying. So cool. So currently I'm reading The Devil in the White City, which is about the Chicago World's Fair from in like the late 1800s, and H.H. Holmes, the serial killer, who's like the first like big serial killer. I don't think I'm gonna make a video about it, but it's going back and forth like chapter by chapter of like, here's how the fair is going and here's what H.H. Holmes is up to. And like there's not a lot that really tie them together besides the fact they're both like they're happening at the same time. The decision to like have both of these stories in the same book, like I could imagine a book about the World's Fair and then a book about H.H. Holmes, they just kind of feel shoved together. At the moment they might, I'm not done yet, it might like weave each other into I know how to talk, it's fine. Anyway, did you guys know that Hilary Duff wrote a YA book series?